and that's been helping me get them fired up too. And my goal every month is 5 coaches. I try to do a little bit quality over quantity just because I've had so many coaches join and quit based on the whatever. I get super excited to sign them up. You sign them up, and then like a month later, 3 months later, 4 months later, they're gone. So that's just not worth it for me to invest time in them. So yeah, so I try to recruit 5 or 6 coaches a month, and I've been pretty good at doing that for the last little while. And I just basically recruit through I'm doing a fit community now instead of a 21-day challenge, and that's been going really good. Like lots of the ladies have been really supportive in there, and even the ones that don't post, I just make sure that I check in with them a couple times a week to make sure that they're on task and doing their programs and stuff. And what was the other one? How to make sure you're constantly adding. Oh, I'm going to do this month, I have never done it before, but I'm doing a happy hour sneak peek actually in July. I'll do it on Wednesday the 20th, I think. And I'm just going to like advertise it for the 3 days before and just do a Zoom call. And I told all my coaches about it too, so I'm going to try that instead of a 5-day this month to see. And yeah, that's how I recruit mine. But I'm really interested to hear all of your ways, magical ways.
So you're more so finding them initially to be like a challenger transformation, then you're reaching out to them about coaching?
Well, kind of simultaneously. Like I'm like recruiting and scouting these people because I'm like, this girl would make a bomb-ass coach.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll mention it really, really early on. And then lots of times they're like, well, I just want to do one challenge first, but I'll like keep in their ear and like mention stuff like about their strengths or whatever, or say they post some recipe or say they do something. Like I just continuously like whatever, praise their accolades basically. And then, so that's been working really well, but I've found that that's worked really well. And also I was talking to Rosalind today, and she's running an 8-week group via the challenge tracker. And she said that she signed up, like half of her girls signed up as discount coaches because it's an 8-week group, and the Shako would have ran out in the first 4 weeks. So they went through that. So I don't know if that's something that people want to do. I just like running the ongoing group now because everybody can sign up at different times and it's not stressful about one date. But yeah, that was something she said is working for her too.
So you're really like scoping people out, like targeting people who you think would be a good coach.
Yeah, hugely. Like I'm adding at least 5 new people as friends every day. And the people that I'm adding, I'm like creeping them out and seeing if they would be a good fit for both, for challenge and for coach.
Okay. I like that.
But I've also really made a switch because I found so many people were saying like, I can never do what you do and I can't spend that much time and yada yada. So I think with the fit community especially, people are realizing like, oh shit, it's not that special, but it's special, obviously. I love what we do, but it's not that intense, and people are finally seeing that they could do it too. So I'm really trying to push that home, like, you can do this. If I can do this, you can do this.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no problem.
I can go next. I feel like mine's pretty similar to Marie, actually. I really do try and scope out some fitness people, and I share examples on my team page all the time of me approaching people about coaching, not necessarily challenge groups anymore. And, a lot of them, of course, have heard of Beachbody, which is a good thing. And I've had some new coaches that way. Most of my coaches are from my groups, my challenge groups. And then I also have had a lot of luck in people who love Beachbody, are assigned to a different coach, like usually like free leads who have never actually responded to their coach, who've now switched to me and are coaching. And they've been kind of watching through a mutual friend or whatever, and now are actively coaching with me. So I think the appeal for that, like those are great people to have because they love Beachbody and they want to be on my team. And I think that's just that whole, talking about my team culture, branding, making it a positive thing, more about the community as Beachbody coaches versus my challenge groups. So that's kind of something I really try and push, which seems to attract that, because I've had a few like come to me that way. My 2 of my last like 5 coaches are from that way. They weren't with me, but they love Beachbody and they've lost weight and gotten fit and have wanted to coach and have been thinking about it. So I've been that kind of liaison of, this is how we do it. This is what's involved. If you want to be as successful as I've been, this is how much time I put in. I don't lie to them. I'm like, I have put a lot of time. And I am open with them too and say like, well, you don't have to do it this way either. You can do it as a hobby. Make an extra $100. That's great. Like whatever you want. I said, my goals have changed a lot as I've gotten more into this.
Right.
So that kind of has been working for me. And I got 10 coaches this month. So it was a good month. But usually I aim for 5, like one every week or so.
Maybe it's just your surgery attracting coaches.
Now that I'm not working out, how many coaches I've got. I think actually, I'm spending way more time on my business than fitness. So I think that is the correlation. It just shows me, more hours on my computer, less working out. Doesn't necessarily make me happier. So.
That's awesome.
Hey, Nicole, I just want to ask really quick, do you email your leads, or how do you find works for contacting them? Because I find I get such a low success rate on responses when I email my...
Oh yeah, I've had like zilch on those people. I don't know. They never answer me. So I used to do the full out, here's my story. Now I just go, hey, I'm your free coach. Send me an email if you want some help. And actually more answer when I'm super casual that way. However, one of my 10 coaches this month was some random who signed up on my site as a coach, and I emailed her and she wrote me back, but she never answered when I said, how did you find me? Because we are not friends on Facebook. And she has a Greek last name. I'm like, oh, maybe she's Greek and just thought I'm Greek and whatever. I have no idea. It wasn't a coach lead. It was through my site. But, that was such a fun morning when I was like, oh, wow, new coach. I don't even know her. Wicked. So I don't know where she came from, but that was golden.
From heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I mostly like on Instagram, you can't write a certain amount and the links don't work. I try and get off of Instagram. I'm like, add me on Facebook because I love Messenger. I hate email, actually. I love Messenger from Facebook. So I just find it so easy to keep track of everything, and email, I don't check as often. I forget people. I'm like, I'm better with Messenger.
That was awesome. Thank you for sharing, Nicole.
Welcome.
I can go next. Okay, so most of my really quality coaches have been challengers first, and they've kind of been people who I striked up a conversation with them because I knew they would make good coaches. So I reconnected with them, then brought up the challenge group, had them become challengers, and then transitioned them into coaches. So I went into that initial connection phase with the intention of turning them into a coach because I knew they'd be really awesome. So most of my really quality coaches are people that I knew before, like old friends from elementary school or high school, just people that I've reconnected with. I aim to add 4 new coaches a month. On one of the elite contender calls, they kind of said that that's what you should be aiming for, is adding 4 new coaches a month. So that's what I aim for. Sometimes I recruit a little bit less, sometimes I recruit a little bit more, but it kind of balances out in the end, I guess. And then just to make sure I'm always adding, just posting lots about coaching. I've been trying to post a lot more about coaching than challenge groups. Talking to my challengers about coaching. I kind of pick out those challengers at the beginning who I think would make good coaches, and then throughout the challenge group I'll kind of prime them up, message them a lot, and thank them for being a leader, and just kind of make them feel like they're already doing all the things that a coach would do. And then I plan my sneak peek for the last week of my challenge group. So then it's really natural for those challengers to just transition into that sneak peek. And then lots of times the ones who are really awesome will become coaches and just flow right through that funnel kind of. I've had some really good conversations on Instagram, just picking out people who look like they're really into fitness, messaging them and just asking them if they've ever considered using fitness as a career or to make money. And I, like Nicole, I try to get them on Facebook right away. And I've had a few that have joined my sneak peeks, and like none of them have signed up yet, but I've a few conversations that have started on Instagram just from me messaging them and telling them like, I love your page. I love your vibe. Like, have you ever considered doing this? And I have a few that I think will sign up soon. We're just kind of like in limbo talking about it. So I think that's really all I have to say.
I like that. I like how you touched, like, it's not instant, right? Like how you said, you go through the connection, then the challenge group, then the coaching. Like, you found this person, it might take like who knows how many months before they sign up, but having that constant filling of your funnel is key. I like that.
I find that people who sign up like right away or don't really see what a challenge group is like, they just kind of like don't do as much as the people who I've had that whole process with. And like, I feel like the more connection you have and the more time you have to show them what a challenge group is like, show them what you do and like talk to them, then the better idea they have when they start coaching, and they're more likely to do all those things that you've talked about along the way.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. It's awesome. Who else do? All right. Where are your coaches coming from? Who else? Virginia, Leanne, Shelby, Autumn, Laura, Vanna.
I can go. So lately I've had, like, my goal is 5 coaches a month, and I've had, of course, like the few discount ones. But sometimes it's like obviously less than 5, or sometimes it's more depending on how much I invite for the coaching opportunity. But usually get my coaches like in my challenge groups, obviously, and I find those leaders, like, it's pretty much the first week where I find those ones that are super into it and super dedicated. And I just pretty much like pump their tires the entire challenge and kind of send them little, you know, messages like how their leadership, or I really like what you're posting. And then I bring up the coaching like right away and just kind of, you know, in their ear and stuff the entire challenge. And that's usually has been working really good for me. Like, I've got maybe a few coaches that have actually come to me from my public invites. So I usually just do it on a more personal level and do it from my challenge groups. And that's worked so far. I want to try, I'll be full-time this summer because I'm done work, obviously. So I really want to try a few new things this summer and see how it goes. But yeah, that's just, I'm constantly like on Instagram creeping like all day. If I have nothing to do, that's what I'll be doing, is creeping Instagram and really adding people that have the same interests as me, not just following everybody just to have more followers. But I found actually a few girls that have added me on Facebook, and we've been talking back and forth. So that's a new thing that I've been doing to constantly add coaches. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I've been doing, like I said, I want to try new things this summer and get some new ideas how to add those coaches, because I've been pretty plain Jane and doing the same thing. And I mean, it works, but yet I want to see my team really grow this summer when I'm doing it full time. So I'm pretty happy with how it is now, but I definitely need some new ideas to add and find coaches, because that's the thing I find, like my public invites, I find sometimes I'm like, well, why bother doing them? But you have to constantly, right? And that's something I've been trying to get my coaches to, is their public invites, because obviously, but yeah, so yeah, that's about it for me. I have not too much difference that I haven't really changed in the last 2 years.
No, I love that. And I like that you mentioned you have to do the public invite, because I get nobody off my public invite too, but so many people see them, and those are, it fuels the personal conversations you have going on about coaching. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do them to get coaches necessarily. It's more so people who have already I'm talking to or whatever about coaching. It's just another like spark for them to be like, okay, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, to see that they can do it, not just take someone special. Yeah.
And I think those public posts are key, like where I've gotten some friends of friends, it's because I'm inviting them to my team. And so even if no one likes it, it's all good. And I try and tell my team that, like, you know, the people who like it will be like Hillary, few people on my team, and that's it. And that's okay. I just need it out there to the universe because they see it. And, you know, one of my new coaches who even hit Success Club, that's how she found me, was just watching through a mutual friend. I never sent her a friend request. And then she just messaged me and was like, hey, I want to do this coaching thing. And I love Beachbody. And so, yeah, it is key, even if no one's liking it, right?
Right. Hey, Amanda, just jumped on. All right. Thanks so much for sharing, Vanna. Anybody who wants to share next? Well, Miss Virginia, you've got a rock star team, so you better share. I think you're muted.
So yeah, I've done different stuff over the years. Right now though, this last month I was just in like a funk, so I just like took a step back and just focused on me. But honestly, it was like the best thing I ever did, because then I got results again, and then now I'm like super excited to do another challenge group, and I've had a lot more people have interest, so I'm gonna focus on those people once I have them signed up for the challenge. But this month has kind of sucked for coaches, for myself personally. But in the past, I remember one time, this must have been a year and a half ago, there was something out that was like, you're going to recruit 20 people in 1 month. I don't know if you remember that, Morgan. There's like a video about like adding like 20 new coaches to your team in 1 month. And I had a bunch of girls and me do it. And honestly, I got like 10 coaches, because it's just all about how many invites you're sending out. It really is just about how many people you're asking to coach. And this month, I haven't been asking as many people because I kind of took a step back and was just like focusing on me, sharing my journey. But in the past, when I've had those like huge months of adding like 15 people, it's because I've invited probably like 50 to 100 maybe even. So that's all I can say about recruiting coaches, is it's honestly how many people you're talking to. And even if they don't reply, don't say anything, you still put a bug in their ear. Like I just had a girl message me the other day and she said, I've done some soul searching and I'm ready to be a coach. I'm like, what? I haven't talked to her in like a year. So all of those invites mean something. And even if they don't reply or they read it, you see that they read it and they don't say anything, they still read it and they're thinking about it. It's in their head. And like you guys were saying, the putting up the posts, like every time I put up a coach invite one, I get less likes and stuff. But those people who are thinking about it are seeing them. And even if they don't like it, it's just another reminder to them, right? And also the other times that I've got a lot of coaches is like income posts. But I've also found that when I've done that, then people expect that they're going to make that much money that fast. And then I've had people like end up quitting because they're in it for the wrong reasons. So I've been trying not really put income posts. I mean, I'll still send them my webinar, and once they watch that webinar, they can see the potential. But I haven't really put up too many income posts lately because I don't want people to be in it for the wrong reason. But yeah, I think that's about it, if I missed anything.
No, that was super good. And thanks, Autumn. Autumn just typed her response too. So thanks, Autumn.
I guess I can talk. I just, you can't see me, and it's like super weird, and it's like, it's driving me nuts. So I just typed it out while you guys were talking, but so I can kind of like touch on it, I guess. Because I've like, I do, and I kind of tend to pull like away a little bit when I'm having these moments, because it's like you don't want to always admit when you're struggling, right? And it's not that I would say that I'm struggling per se, but in what I was trying to say was that how do I say all this? Okay, so you don't have to read everything that I literally just wrote out, I guess, if you don't want to, but I try to shoot for 10 coaches a month. And over the past I think it's one of those ebbs, and it sounds like everyone's kind of going through it, or some people are going through it. You know, like how our businesses always have the ebbs and the flows, and I feel like mine kind of has an ebb in my team. And it's like no matter what I do, it's just not happening for them right now. So I took a step back, and it's like instead of pouring everything that I can into them and into my team, I stepped back a little bit. I'm still helping them. I'm still present. I still do calls. I'm still there. But I'm not going to keep posting for people that don't appreciate it or want it or going to do anything for their business. I'm going to take some extra time out and focus on me. So I've been spending even more time, like in the mornings, just reading personal development. I've been listening to Earn Your Happy for like 4 hours while I do my work. So I've just been having that on. So having like that really positive like mindset and finding a different routine that was different than my normal routine really kind of reignited my fire and my drive and passion again. Not that it was gone, but you kind of need that, I don't know, sometimes a change up to make things work again. So I started reading Compound Effect. Why it's taken me almost 2 years to read it, I don't know. But it's definitely changed so much for me. I've had a different change in like my voice, and I find that I've really started to find more of me, and so I'm trying to share a lot with my team right now. Like, it takes time, you guys. Like, it takes time to find your voice. It takes time to find like who you are. It takes time to find success. Like everyone, I find that especially my team, they all think that it's supposed to happen in 3 months. It's supposed to happen in a month. It's supposed to happen in a year, and it doesn't happen like that. And it's really hard to find those people who are okay with sticking out for the long haul. So between that and the call last night, the Ignite one, I've just been really getting a lot of clarity, and I get the most quality coaches from being me. And I don't think that there's a specific solution or way to make like funnel for coaches to happen all the time. Like, you're going to get the right ones and you're going to get like the wrong ones, right? And I think that right now what's really becoming clear to me is doing the small things, like doing them consistently every single day. And I'm really trying to focus in creating that routine and that momentum, like say you've done, you know, great, getting up every single morning at the same time. Like, that's what I'm kind of focusing on. I've been focusing a ton on love notes and connections this month. So Marie, thank you for that, because that has been a huge game changer for me. I made a list of 100 ladies that I had never talked to before, and I started sending them out love notes. Every day I chose about 5 or 10 people from there, and I did that. And those connections are building my following, and that following is going to pour into next month, and it's going to keep going. So I'm going to keep doing that every single month. And of course, like I post way more about coaching. I post way more about, all that, and those are where my conversations come from, because I want business builders, I want quality coaches, I want people who know what it takes and what like those day-to-day behaviors are. So that's another way that I definitely get coaches. But even people that are quality coaches, you know, the first month, 3 months down the road, they can be flops, right? So I think by me being me has definitely been the most. I have one coach that came to me actually through my like page, which I don't use a ton, so it's kind of crazy. But she ended up signing up with me, and all of a sudden she, just by me being that person there for her, because she has a lot of anxiety, so I can really understand what she's going through, I've just been her friend and connected with her a lot. And that was something I stopped doing a lot. I pulled away from that because my business really went for a downfall when I was being too much of friends with people, so I had pulled away from that. But me being her friend a lot and her relying on me, now she has her friend running challenge groups with her, and she has her friend wanting to be coaches, and she's creating like teams and stuff, and she literally just signed up the other week. So that's really good. But that's kind of what I got right now. Like, I'm in this place where I don't feel like I can really talk on my quality coaches. But I think by me being me and finding my voice, that helps more finding the right ones. Mm-hmm. I guess if that, I don't know, maybe I just blabbered. I probably just blabbered.
No, that totally made sense, and I actually just made a note, because I mean, I do what a lot of you do too, you know, obviously the personally inviting, but like you said, Autumn, for me, the months that I recruit, I think the best coaches are when my social media is on point and is me. Like when I look at my feed and I'm kind of like, well, about like my posts, my invites don't seem to go as great. Like, I don't get as much turnover, but when my social media is on point and it's so me and it's sharing what I'm going through and all that jazz, I feel like, I don't know, my conversations just get easier, because I think people are watching and they don't have as many questions, or they know what I'm doing and they trust me. And that social media, relating, if it's representing exactly who you are and what you're going through, I just feel like the personal side of things, the combos go so much easier and better and less objections and all that stuff. And I think as soon as you get that new blood into your team, momentum picks up again. And that's often what I tell people too. It's like, if you're feeling that kind of slump, like you really got to constantly have that influx of new blood into your team, new excitement to keep that momentum going. But no, that totally made sense, Autumn. Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Oops. All right. Anybody else want to share at all? I know Kel said she couldn't. No worries, Kel.
I can go next.
Okay. Awesome, Laura.
I am not on a big, huge recruiting streak right now, so it's a little bit more difficult. But I know that when I was doing well, it was kind of the same thing with being really open on my social media and talking a lot about coaching and the ups and downs and everything about it. And also inviting, like, I think for a while I stopped even inviting to challenge groups and just posted about them and just strictly invited coaches at like 12, 15 per day. And my success rate was good, but I didn't necessarily attain a whole bunch of quality coaches either that way. I did have a lot quit, but I did have some stick it out. So I feel like I might go back to doing that a bit more and kind of just go with the flow and work with the willing.
Mm-hmm.
And try to do some more boosting of the girls in my challenge group as well. Trying to go that way. I'm going to take that from you guys and run with it. But that's about it. I do aim for 5 or more.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. Thank you, Laura. And I think it's only normal to make sure you realize, even if you recruit 10 quality coaches, 2 end up building a business, maybe 1. So I think to know that that's normal is key too, right? Like you might have 10 quality and, 5 or 6, well, probably 5 quit eventually. And then maybe a couple like couple coaches here and there, then maybe 1 or 2 that really rock it, right? And that's normal and that's totally okay, right? I encourage people to know that, like, that's normal. They're like, oh, my whole team's quitting. It's like, no. This is totally normal. You just have to keep finding those few people. That's a super good point. Most of my quality do come from challenge groups too. I just find they have that emotional connection with the company. They're not, for people that don't have the emotional connection, I feel like it's really easy for them to cut the cord and move on to the next shiny object, right? But when 21 Day Fix or P90X or something like completely transformed your life and saved you, it's a lot harder to cut the cord on that, I find. So that's personally like, I wasn't a challenger before, but I had been doing Beachbody programs since grade 8. So like I had that emotional connection to it already. So I prefer to have those people. I don't like turn away people that don't, but I feel like those people stick it out longer because they have the emotional connection. That's what I find.
Can I say something on that too? Mm-hmm. Though I think that everything you just said was so wonderful, and I totally agree with it because like for myself, my initial like aha with beachbodiesthebomb.com was because my IBS was reversed from Shakeout, and like after 10 years of having the worst gut health ever, like of anybody that I know, and my immune system was in the crapper and stuff, and this one thing randomly starts working and I poop once a day instead of once every 5 days. Are you serious? So that was for me, the biggest thing was my IBS. So what I try and do now, because it's so different for everybody, right? But what I try and do now is I'll try and touch on every single different thing that it could possibly be to connect them emotionally. So whether it's like talking about non-scale victories for a few days, or talking about confidence levels for a few days, or talking about IBS and how their gut health is, or talking about if they're sleeping better, like I try and touch on all the little things just to see who's like, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, yeah, look, this program or product did this for you. And they're just like, whoa, yeah, that's so cool. And that kind of like helps take them back to it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like touching base with them and like making them realize that too.
Mm-hmm. I try. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, like the whole fitness community thing, it was so funny. I think, Nicole, was it you that brought it up, that one? Or somebody who brought it up the first time a date night call. And I was like, what? I've been thinking about doing this. Oh, Autumn, it was you. Anyway, sorry, Autumn was like, yeah, I want to do this fit community. And I was like, what? I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I wanted to do it because I watched Chelsea Pearson's video on it. And one of the things she said really touched on that, and it touched on like connecting people and having deeper connections. And I felt like in lots of my challenge groups, it was very like not artificial at all. Like I care a lot and invest a lot into my challengers and coaches, but sometimes the messages were a little bit like, hey, how's it going? Good? Down 3 pounds? Sweet. Talk to you in a little bit, you know? But this way now, like I'm finding I'm asking more meaningful questions and I'm trying to develop more intense relationships. And then that also feeds into them joining as coaches too. Cause then I start a friendship with them and not just like, hey, join my team. I'm like, hey, we have this like connection or friendship. And now like, do you want to do what I'm doing? And that, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense at all. I just rambled, but.
No, that makes total sense. And I don't know if like some of you guys have noticed, even like with my challengers, even when they say like their pounds lost or inches, I really like congratulate them, but like prime them and ask them more feeling type questions. Mm-hmm. And then even in our Success Clubbers group, when people say their points now, if you've noticed, I probably get annoying. I'm like, okay, like tell me, who are these people? Because I want that too. Like, I don't want them to be able to easily not hit Success Club in a month because it's just a number. I want them to think this is a person. This is my mother-in-law. This is my sister. This is my best friend. Like, I'm trying to get that emotional connection through those kind of things too, so they continue to do it every single month. So yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. I saw you ask that and I was like, oh, that's a cool question towards it. But you're like, who are these people? And she's like, people that went to high school with me? I don't know. But that's really good to connect them to that.
Yeah, like trying to build that more for sure. Okay, we'll wrap up pretty soon here. Did anybody want to talk or share anything before? Amanda, thanks for typing and sharing there. I just read yours. Did anybody else want to cover anything before we wrap up?
Morgan, so today I was messaging Morgan about how I've kind of had like a slump in my business. I've seen like a bunch of coaches drop off and just everything's kind of like hit a plateau, but I knew it was a reflection of the way I was posting, and then because I was kind of feeling down, that was kind of going into my messages. So today I was sitting there and I was like, okay, how can I start to talk about coaching, like just for me though? And I kind of started thinking, I was writing like a blog today, and I was thinking about how I started coaching and what really attracted to me to it. And I realized that, you know, sometimes I type and I write kind of based on what other people write. Like it's very like, I don't know, businessy. And I always try to like make sure it's like perfectly like, so like people like follow it and they think they can do it and stuff. But I'm like, I need to stop doing that. I need to just like post how I see it. And I did that, and I had 3 people message me and say, hey, I want to start coaching in the future. So we like started talking about it. So it just kind of goes to show that sometimes like you could be doing what everyone else is doing and you can kind of feel like you're hitting a plateau and it's not working for you, but you just need to like be you and don't worry about the rest of it. So that's been really awesome. And I even noticed now, like I have some messages sitting in my inbox, and some like, new people started liking my stuff just now in like the last hour. So I just think that's so important, just to be you and not like really care about anything else. Just who you are, and the people like you will connect with you. And I don't know, it was just kind of a good moment. Like I'm glad we had that conversation today, Morgan, because it kind of made me kind of have like a moment to just like think things through and like dive into like me. So that was really awesome. So my recruiting stuff hasn't been that great. Before I was recruiting like 5 a month or so. I was always aiming for 10. And I was getting most of my girls from challenge groups. And then I went through a little phase where people were kind of signing up just kind of like randomly, and then trying to like learn the challenge group and coaching at the same time. And I've seen that they sell lots of programs, but not challenge groups, and they're not seeing that replication of coaches joining them. So it's kind of been like a weird gap for them. So we've been working on that a little bit. But yeah, for me right now, it's mostly like I'm doing the fit community, and I've been doing it for a while now, and I'm really seeing that change and take off. So I can see now that like I have some old challengers that came back in, and I can see that like building those relationships in there, I can see them becoming coaches now in the future, whereas before I didn't, because I think they didn't see the connect. And I think that just like you said, Marie, they didn't think that they could do it because it seemed like so much work. And now it's not like a big deal, right? Like it's something that they can actually see themselves being able to have time to do. And I think that's a huge deal for people. So that's where I'm at. And that's, I don't know, I kind of just am focusing on getting to know people and build genuine relationships.
Mm-hmm. I love that, Callison. I'm glad we had that conversation today too, because I have to like reevaluate probably at least once a month too. And after we had that conversation, I'm like, yeah, my posts like have just been kind of like monotonous lately because I've just been like throwing them out there because our store has been out of control. And after your conversation, I'm like, okay, that's why my personal conversations aren't going over right now, because my posts are just kind of like blah. So that even like reset me. Tomorrow I'm like, okay, I'm on my game tomorrow. And it's going. So you're right, it just takes that reevaluation every so often for sure. And you can't just, maybe when coaching first came out, you can get out and post your selfie with Shakeology or post your workout photo and say, join me, and it worked. But again, not anymore, right? Things are evolving. So it's that whole thing. I did that video on our team. The principles stay the same, but the processes are different. Those processes used to work and they don't work now. So it's the more real and raw you can be, people choose who they connect with. So I like that you mentioned that. I feel like I was going to say something else and I cannot remember. Okay. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to cover? Ooh, it's echoed.
I just wanted to ask if everybody's read The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, because I know, Mark, you read that a few months ago. But
it's such a good book.
Like, can you see? Look at this. I'm gonna show you guys my shit. Look how much like dog-eared and just like written in. Can you see all the like? You can't even see. Like I'm like writing in it all over the place. And
isn't he genius?
Like I want to meet him and just be like, Darren Hardy, come live beside me. Like, can we be neighbors? Like I just want to like pick his brain.
Were you at Summit last year?
No, I just started last year.
He spoke.
Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk is really good too. He's a little bit more intense with social media-ish, but yeah, Darren Hardy. I used to listen to Darren Hardy's Miracle Morning. Marie's got PD brain. What's it called? 2-minute morning something. If you sign up for Darren Hardy's emails, you get a 2-minute like inspirational video every morning.
Oh no, sorry, not last year. Maybe in Vegas he spoke. Maybe that was when I saw him.
Oh shit.
I subscribed. But that book, yes, if you guys haven't read it, like it was phenomenal.
Especially
like
if you're going through a slump, like really
and he was like super like, this is how it is for and it works for any entrepreneur. The other one somebody mentioned on the Dynasty Wall call today was called The Dip by Seth Godin, and it's basically about that, like how dips are in the business and like what you kind of do and blah blah. I haven't read it, but somebody else mentioned it was really good. The Dip by Seth Godin.
Cool.
That was another one. But thank you for mentioning that book. I might reread it because it was so good.
I'm not done it yet, but I'm loving it. Like it's super
I
good.
think my posts were killer that month that I read that book too, because I was like so many aha moments. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. But like that, everybody said that already, but same thing. Like when your PD's on point and you feel good about yourself, it's automatically people are attracted to you. So that's the same thing. Like listening to that Earn Your Happy, that's the bomb like podcast. And then also Tony Robbins is killing it too for me lately.
Oh, podcast?
Yeah, and he interviews a lot of really successful people on random things, but I love that one. Because I find like I'm listening to those podcasts and then I do it in the car and I keep a tiny little notebook with me, and every time there's like an aha moment, I just pause it and like at a red light, I'm like scribbling on my steering wheel like some little idea from it, and then I just make that into a post the next day or whatever.
Yeah. You know what I've been doing in the car, which I finally started doing because you're like, you think this is gonna be a great post, and then you totally forget it. I've been doing voice notes on my phone, the voice notes app on the iPhone, and I'll just record like my thought. So when I get home, I can just like listen to it really quick. Because I cannot write on my steering wheel while I drive, but I'll pause it and make a quick voice note for myself.
Nobody should write while they drive. I'm
going to download Tony
Robbins. I don't do that.
I also think like it just depends where you're at for which PD helps, because I started that Gift of Imperfections, and I just can't get into it. Like I'm like, this is not for me, this book.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear such great things about it, and it's sitting there, and I'm like, no, I much prefer, Girl Boss, this like 20-year-old girl who's rocking the fashion world. Like, and that's kind of what I posted this morning, was just sometimes it's just not the right book for you, even though everyone says it's amazing. I was falling asleep reading it. I just found it so boring and didn't want to read it. So it's just, I encourage my coaches always to like, well, find what's working for you then, like something that speaks to you, what inspires you, because it's so not general. Like I can say it's a great book, but you might hate it,
Totally. I could not agree more with you. Even I feel that, like my podcast, even like in the morning, I am not listening to a business podcast. Like I need a fluffy, in the air, like spiritual thing. But like later on in the day, even like it can change even time of the day. Yeah, what you're into. I love that you mentioned that.
That's so funny, Nicole. I'm the same. I started Light is the New Black by Rebecca Campbell, I think.
Yeah.
And like all these beautiful things about it. Saw it on Instagram. I'm pretty sure Kirsten is the one that mentioned it. And I started reading it and I was like, this is shit. Like, I don't know what this is. But it's not. Like, it's probably a really beautiful book, but it's so like I'm like soulful spiritual, and it's like so soulful spiritual that I can't even get there.
I know. I thought, well, this might be bad to admit that popular book is not working for me, but I'm like, well, I'll reread it at a different time. Maybe when I'm back into exercise, or, just right now, I can't read it. It's not.
That one is good when you're like actually in a slump. If you are feeling like poorly about yourself a little bit, it sounds weird to say that, but if you're like kind of self-doubt or some kind of, I don't know.
Low confidence, I find for people.
Okay, I'll keep mentioning it then to others. But yeah, it just wasn't getting me to want to read it more.
Okay, we'll wrap up too, Becca. I seen she had to leave, but that was great, guys. I recorded it for the girls that wanted it, and we'll upload. And if you have anything else to share, if you didn't get to talk, just share it in our group for sure. I think this was a super important topic for sure. Like, I think you need to, if you don't constantly fuel your fire is going to burn out. Like, that's just the way it is, right? So fueling your current team, but also you need to put new kindling, new wood on the fire too, right? So I think this was really great. And thanks for joining me. Okay, we'll see you guys later.